it up. It's the Record Machine with your host, Jimmy Howell.
My brain needs a holiday. My brain needs a holiday. I got a feeling in my brain, a blinding light that I can't explain. Feeling hot, feeling cold, I just don't know which way to go. Oh, I'm kinda feeling crazy, I can't explain. My dancing mind keeps playing this game. Shot through the heart, I guess it's love. We'll try it on and hope it fits like a glove. My brain needs a holiday. I'm going crazy, I'm going insane. My brain needs a holiday. I got a feeling in my soul. It tears me up like a big black hole. You got me coming, you got me going. I said, whoa. My brain needs a holiday. Rocking my brain, but it's all in vain. My brain needs a holiday. My brain needs a holiday. I'm going crazy, I'm going insane. My brain needs a holiday. Here we go. Crazy, crazy. I'm going crazy. Crazy. My brain needs a holiday. I'm feeling no pain. You can say that again. My brain needs a holiday. My brain needs a holiday. Here I go. I'm going insane. My brain needs a holiday. My brain needs a holiday. Holiday.
Hi, you're on the air.
Jimmy, can you hear me?
I hear you loud and clear, buddy. How you doing?
Hey, man, what's going on?
Oh, not much, man. Just chilling out. Just had dinner with my wife and getting ready to chat with you.
That's cool. Great.
How'd your rehearsal go today?
The rehearsal was fantastic. The band is sounding better and better and better. I'm really lucky. I get to play with some of the probably some of the best musicians in the Boston, New England area. Mm-hmm. Great guys, and that includes Amanda Carr, my keyboard player. She's a great guy too, but she's a beautiful young lady.
Yeah, I seen the pictures on your Facebook page.
Yeah,
it looks pretty cool. Does she do any singing too, or?
Oh yeah, she's an amazing singer. She's an amazing singer. So I've got Amanda singing backups, and I've got Peter Tentindo, my other guitar player, singing backups. So we've got a lot of voices going on in the band.
That's awesome. And you're fronting the band though, right? You're playing guitar now, and you're not playing drums anymore, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, of course I still play, and we're going to do. We do a couple of cool cover songs. One of them is Rocky Mountain Way by Joe Walsh and the Eagles, or whoever did that song first. And so I jump up on the drums on that one with Mikey Sorum, my drummer. And so we have a dual drum thing going on. It's pretty cool.
Now, he's not related to Matt Sorum, is he?
No, he's not.
Oh, okay.
But I think he had that name first.
Oh, okay. No, I was just curious because you don't really hear that name that much now. Sorum. So
that's right. Yeah.
Thought maybe they were brothers or something.
No, he's not related.
That's cool. Now you guys all just like met, or have you've known your members over the years, like when before you were playing with New England, or?
Well, that's a really good question. Joe Filoni, the guitarist in my band, Joe has appeared with me on my solo project, which is him and I just together. We go out and we do, I guess it's a solo duo. So Joe I've been playing with for a long, long time. All the other guys in the band and Amanda I've known for a long, long time. And when I decided to put this thing together, I just sort of handpicked everybody, in the area that I really wanted to play with. I said, listen, I've been playing in this area for, many, many, many years. And I know most of the musicians in the Boston area. So, I had a real good group of musicians to play with, because the musicians in this town are absolutely first rate. They're just incredible. So yeah, I mean, Tony Pulio on bass. He also plays with Blue Man Group. Peter Tentindo is probably one of the most popular session guys around. Amanda Carr. Amanda's appeared with the Boston Pops Orchestra, believe it or not.
Wow.
she's an incredible jazz musician. She's a rock and keyboard player and great vocalist. Who did I forget? So there's and Mikey Sorum on drums. Mike's great because he's got to put up with me because I'm a drummer. So it's a great crew. It's a great crew. Good group of people. And the vibe in the band is just fantastic. Everybody loves everybody, and there's no baggage and all that kind of stuff. So it's a pleasure to play with these guys.
Now, this is the first album that you've done with this group of people, or you've done your other album with them as well?
Well, no. So I've got 2 solo albums out. The first one I did many years ago, in the mid-2000s, and My Brain Needs a Holiday, which came out a year ago. That was pretty much a solo project, and the only one in the band that's playing on that album is Joe. So right now what we're doing is we are working on a new album, which is going to be the Hirsh Gardner Project, and hopefully everybody in this band is going to be playing on that record.
Oh, that's awesome. And the one that's the most recent one, you had some like guest performers on there, right? Wasn't Bumblefoot on one of the tracks?
Yeah, Ron's playing on one of the songs. He's what an amazing guitar player he is. Oh my God!
Yeah, he's great.
It's funny. I met him because he's a huge New England fan, and I didn't know that. I bumped into him in New York. I was playing a gig down there, and Ron came by, and I found out at that point that he was just a huge New England fan. He says, "Man, I know every song on your album."
Wow.
Really? That's cool. So. I sent him. I sent him an email. I said, "Hey, I'm doing a solo album. Would you like to play on one of the songs?" He says, "Absolutely." So I sent him this track, and I said, "Listen, the first minute of the song, I just want it to be all you. You can do whatever you want. You arpeggiated licks, dive bombs, heavy leads, harmonies, octaves, whatever you want." And then the main song kicks in. And then I said, I want you to do like a really cool lead line over the intro and do a guitar solo and then wail at the end of the song. Well, he sent me back a track like 3 days later. And on my first listen, it was hilarious. I was sitting in the studio, and I put the track up, and I synchronized all Ron's tracks with my track. And I was hysterically laughing because it was so unbelievably cool what he did. It was just one of those things that hits you over the head, and I'm going, holy shit, this is amazing. I was laughing. It was great.
That's awesome.
So, yeah, I love that dude. He's an amazing guitar player. So I'm honored to have him play on my record, man. That's cool.
Now, what part of Massachusetts are you living in?
Well, Boston.
So
living in Boston.
Are you like cool with Mass? Do you know those guys?
Oh hell yeah! I produce Mass.
Oh, you did?
Many years ago. Yeah, many years ago, I had well, of course, I've been producing and engineering and recording for a million years, and, Louis and Gene and Joey, they were all really, really good friends, and, they asked me if they could use my studio, and then we got together, and they said, you want to produce this? So we produced all of the songs. God, I forget which album was it. Something in the Night.
Oh, Voices in the Night.
Voices in the Night.
Yeah.
So we produced all the songs for that, and it went to the record label, and they took all of those songs and they re-recorded them, and I was down at the studio in New Jersey with those guys, and so they put that album out, which was great. So I'm really, really friendly with those guys. Steven from Aerosmith, I mean, I've known Steven since 1971, and Joe and Joey Kramer, they're all good buddies. Let me see, Franny Sheehan from Boston, Barry Goudreau. The Boston rock scene is great because we're a relatively small city,
right? And
kind of everybody on that level knows everybody, and we all jam together, play together, talk together, go out and party together. So it's a pretty cool scene. It's a pretty cool scene up here.
Yeah, I was there a couple weeks ago, actually.
Oh, you were?
Yeah, I went to.
What'd you do?
I went to go see Lewis.
Oh, no kidding. That's great.
Yeah, he played at, I think it's called Mix 360 in Malden. It's a club there.
Of course they did, yeah. I was going to come that night, but I was, we had rehearsal that night, and after, I was just so burnt out after rehearsal that I just had to go home. I texted Louis the next day. I was like, sorry, I missed your gig, man. So. Yeah,
it was pretty cool. I mean, me and my buddy Dan, we drove up and, watched the show, met the guys, and then we drove back the next day. So it was pretty cool.
Nice.
Yeah, I mean, he invited us. He put us on the list and everything because he's been on the show a couple of times already. I've had him on, I think, twice so far.
Cool.
In the last year, yeah.
That's great.
I'm a big Mass fan. I have a lot of their stuff, so I asked him to come on the show, and he agreed to do it. So I mean, I think that's kind of how I got in touch with you, I think, because I think we're mutual friends, I think.
Yeah, it's very possible. I'll tell you what, man, recording Louis, Joey and Gene, they're amazing as well. So I'm not, picking on Louis, but I'm a vocalist. And as a record producer, one of the main things that you need to focus on is the vocal. And Louis is just such a dream artist to work with. I mean, everything that he does is fantastic. And when you see, and the great thing about Louis is, like, if I'm sitting there listening to something and I don't like something that's going on, and I suggest Louis to do it, he's all over it.
Cool.
There's no ifs, ands, or buts. He'll try anything, and he can pretty much do anything there is to do vocally. I love that guy's voice.
Yeah,
he's cool.
Your new album is pretty kick-ass too. I've been listening to a lot of it on YouTube. Now, when you guys started out in New England, was it Paul Stanley who helped you guys out? Well,
it's an interesting story. So. Yes, it was, and here's how that happened. A friend of ours was with Elektra Records back then, and he knew Rick Aliberti, who was Bill Aucoin's second in command. Bill Aucoin managed Kiss. So our friend invited Rick to come and see us rehearse at our rehearsal studio. This was way before we were signed, and Rick came to hear the band, and he was just absolutely blown away. And Bill, and he so like the next week. Bill Aucoin, who was managing Kiss, was in our studio, and we were auditioning for him.
Wow!
He loved the band. Basically, said, "You guys are probably the best live performing band that I've ever seen in my life. You guys were incredible." This is quite a compliment coming from Bill Aucoin. So he signed us. Then we got a record deal. So we needed a producer. Mutt Lange was in line. Todd Rundgren was mentioned. And so we had all these different producers to choose from. And Bill said, "Hey, would you guys be interested in having Paul come up and hear the band and possibly produce the band if you guys get along and you like him?" So we were like, "Well, Paul Stanley, that's pretty cool,
Yeah.
And at the same time, Bill also mentioned that he wanted us to have Mike Stone as a co-producer. Now, Mike Stone had just come off producing Queen's Bohemian Rhapsody.
Oh, nice.
So the pedigree of producers that we were lining up was pretty friggin' hot. It was pretty amazing.
I would say.
So Paul came up to our studio in Boston, and we rehearsed and with him for a couple days, and he was just like, man, this is great. I love you guys. He suggested some things that we do with some of the songs. And as a matter of fact, a funny story, Don't Ever Want to Lose You, at that point, did not have a guitar solo.
Oh, wow.
And Paul says, you guys, this song is so good. This is going to be your number one hit song. He said, we got to put a guitar solo in it. So, if one of the major contributions that Paul made to that song was the guitar solo, so I'll give him that credit. But he was fantastic in the studio. It was so great to work with somebody who'd been on the road, who's like a famous rock star. He kind of like gave you that feeling that you were right there with him. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And when you're producing a record like that, you've got to feel like you've got to have that vibe. You've got to have that feeling, which Paul certainly played a huge role in giving us that. So yeah, Paul Stanley produced our first album along with Mike Stone. Turned out fantastic, and that was the name of that tune. It was pretty cool.
And you did a total of 3 albums, correct?
Yeah, we did 3 albums. The first one we did with Paul. The second one we did with Mike Stone, and in Boston. We actually produced that right here in Boston. Oh, wait a minute. Yeah, so that's right. And then the third album we did with Todd Rundgren out at his studio in upstate New York, which was just a thrill to work with Rundgren, man. He was incredible. Now,
that's the album that is called Walking Wild, correct?
That's right. You got it.
1981.
Wow, long time.
Sure is. So after you did that last album, in between there, were you just working with other people, producing people, and then you said you did your first solo album in 2004, right?
Yeah, I think it was 2004 or something like that. After New England broke up, this is kind of cool. Gene Simmons got in touch with us and said, "There's this guy who is a singer-songwriter, guitar player. His name is Vinny Casano, and he's looking for a band." And so, we hooked up with Vinny, and he flew out to Boston, and we rehearsed with him, and the band sounded incredible. Just the 4 of us playing. So it was Jimmy, Gary, and I, and Vinny. And of course, you all know Vinny. Vinny eventually became Vinny Vincent.
Right.
And so we put a band together. We all moved to L.A. We put a band together, and we called it Warrior. And Warrior was kind of this unknown phenomenon on Hollywood Boulevard. And we were just about to get signed, and the guys in Kiss asked Vinny to join the band.
Oh, okay.
So Vinny joined Kiss, and the band Warrior was now broken up. So I went back to Boston to continue my producing career, which I was doing. I was doing a lot of business back then. It was great. And Jimmy and Gary stayed in L.A. And that's and then I worked as a producer and played in a couple of different bands over the years. And then I just decided in mid-2000 to put out my first solo album, which was really a challenge. Getting up the gumption to be able to, play guitar and play vocal, sing vocals and produce and engineer. But it was a real labor of love. It took me about a year to get that done. And it was released worldwide. It was released on Marquee Avalon in Japan. It was released on MTM Records in Europe, and it was released on our own label, GB Music, in the United States. Album did really well. Went back to producing again. And years later, I decided, it's time to do another album. And so that's when My Brain Needs a Holiday came to fruition. So that was pretty cool.
And on the new album, you actually do a cover, correct? Procol Harum, Whitest Shade of Pale, right? Oh, man. Yeah. That's, my God, that's such an incredible song. So I'm sitting here in my studio, and, I've got my piano and all my gear set up, and I'm watching YouTube videos one afternoon. And I come across this video where Gary Brooker from the original Procol Harum is on stage. I think it was in Europe, maybe Finland or something. And he's sitting there with a complete full orchestra, a vocal choir, 30-piece choir, and guitar, bass, and drums, and he starts, doing a version of Whiter Shade of Pale. And any fans out there of classic, rock ballads,
You got to find this on YouTube and watch it because it will blow your mind. So I was so jazzed by the time the song was over, I ran over to my piano and just recorded the song. And this was like in the middle of my album, and it ended up turning out so good. I really loved the arrangement that we put together that I decided to put it on the album. And as a tribute to Gary Brooker and Procol Harum, it's probably one of the most recognizable songs in music history. It's a great song.
Oh, of course. And like I said, when I was watching your videos the other night on YouTube, somebody posted all the new songs up on there, and I heard it. I was like, wow, this is pretty fucking good, you know?
Yeah,
yeah.
I love the background harmonies in that are just amazing. I guess I learned this from Mike Stone from Queen, because Queen's background vocals were just unbelievable. I'll go in the studio and I'll lay down 60 or 80 tracks of background vocals. As a matter of fact, the song "Love Is"
okay
on my album, on My Brain, is if you listen to that, that's probably about 64 tracks of vocals, just me singing all the vocal parts.
Okay.
And I just love that layered sound, and I sort of learned that trick from Mike Stone, who did the Queen stuff. We've got a lot of that going on in Whiter Shaded Pale too, because it sort of matches the era that song was produced in.
Yeah, that song's been played zillions of times. It's probably been on numerous movie soundtracks.
Yeah, I mean, Willie Nelson does it. Who's a chick from the Eurythmics? What's her name?
Annie Lennox.
Annie Lennox does a version of it, which is kind of like a hip-hoppy type of thing. And then, Sammy Hagar does a rock and roll version of it. So I think mine kind of falls in the middle somewhere. And
over the years, you guys probably played with a lot of cool artists as well, right? Have you ever played, like, opened a show or did a show with Kiss or like Cheap Trick or somebody like that?
Absolutely, yeah. We so our first tour. Well, actually, all the tours that we did back in the '80s, we did the '79 tour with Kiss, which was absolutely unbelievable. Playing, Madison Square Garden 2 nights in a row, and played for 80,000 people at Pontiac Stadium. So we did probably 20 or 30 dates on that tour. We played with Cheap Trick, did Kansas, Styx. Probably one of the scariest shows I ever did. You mentioned his name earlier. We played with Rush, Neil Peart, playing on the same stage as him.
Yeah.
That was scary.
I'm sure.
Yeah. So the great thing is we got to meet a lot of, like, really, all of our rock and roll heroes, which I think it was really humbling, and for me it was like a learning process, and it was very cool hanging out with all of those people.
Yeah,
it's pretty cool.
And out of all the tours that you've been on and all the bands that you've played with or jammed with, who was your favorite?
Oh, you know what? That's really hard to say, because all these guys are so different. I mean, playing with Kiss, you got Paul and Gene, and I was really, really good friends with Eric Carr back then. Of course, that was Eric joined the band after Peter. But playing so it's kind of different when you're playing with those guys and then hanging out with Steve Perry from Journey. So each of those bands, there was they're kind of like they become the flavor of the month. I mean, they're going to be your favorite band because they're all such cool people. John Cougar was a pain in the ass.
I could see that,
as you probably heard from everybody.
Yeah.
But and his band, they didn't like us very much. But we weathered that storm. We were kind of like the young upstarts back then, and if we didn't get a sound check, we're like, we don't give a fuck. We're still going to go up there and blow your doors off. So, it wasn't arrogance, but it was self-confidence that we would go up there and we would do our show regardless of what happened.
Well, that's a good attitude to have, though. It's positive.
Oh, it's a great attitude, and I think I have that attitude right now. It's just like I go on stage, and it's like, okay, so my in-ear monitors don't work. The hell with it. I'll rip them out and I'll sing without them. I don't care.
Yeah,
so,
you got to make the best of what you got.
You got to do it.
It's rock and roll. That's right.
That's it, brother. That's it.
So growing up, like before you signed that first, record deal and stuff, who were you listening to? Who inspired you to play drums and sing?
Well, I mean, way back in the day, I was listening to Gene Krupa, Buddy Rich, and all the swing era drummers, because that was like what was, my aunt and uncle and my mom and dad. They were, that was their generation. So that was kind of the music that I was growing up with, and then. And I was playing in jazz groups and things like that. And then, of course, I grew up in Toronto, Canada, so there was a really, really good music scene up there in Yorkville Village. So, I mean, I was playing, on the same street as, Joni Mitchell and Sonny Terry and Brownie McGee. Rick James, who lived in Buffalo, New York, would always come up to Toronto and play. So, it was a real breeding ground for great music back then. And that was kind of like in the late 60s. And then in the 70s, I went to Berklee College of Music, which was a great experience. I didn't really do that well in school because I was more interested in getting out and gigging and playing. But I learned a hell of a lot, and that's kind of where I met Jimmy Waldo, and we put together. They asked me to join their band, which was called Fatback.
Okay.
And then after that, we had John join the group, and then we changed the name of the band to Target, and then we were called Jack. And I think we changed the name of the band every couple of months so the club owners would rehire us because they wouldn't want to hire us back because we played all original music.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
We've never ever done cover stuff, and so it's oh man, don't you know any songs that we can dance to? No, we don't. Screw you.
Yeah, a lot of those bars and clubs, they just want somebody to play like all the established songs already, right? They didn't want to hear no.
Yeah, be a jukebox.
Yeah.
And then and turn down. So it's funny because I'm a slamming drummer, I play really, really loud, and the club owners would come up to me on stage and say, "Hey man, can you turn down?" I said, "Well, no, I don't have a knob for that."
That's
so
funny.
Fuck you, get out of here.
Yeah, I'll play as loud as I want. If it's too loud, you're too
loud.
Well,
I didn't last very long because they would fire us, and that was okay. So we just went on to the next gig. So
yeah, that's
and then we so all of that was kind of like the beginning of New England, and then in 1977, John and I got back together and started to record some New England songs, and that's when Gary and Jimmy rejoined the band, and we eventually called the band New England, and the rest is history.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And then once you guys finished, you guys did a reunion tour after you split up too, right?
Yeah, back in, I think 2006, a friend of mine was doing a benefit concert up here in Boston, and he asked me, he said, "Hey, do you think New England would reunite for a benefit concert?" So I just I called the other guys, and I just said, "Hey guys, would you guys be interested in playing?" And everybody said, "Yeah, sure." So Jimmy and Gary lived in LA. They flew into Boston, and John and I were here. We got a rehearsal studio, and now we hadn't played together in like 40 years or 30 years or whatever it was back then. We rehearsed for like 2 days and then played the gig, and it was absolutely sensational.
That's awesome.
And I think I attribute all of that to the fact that back in the day, we rehearsed every single day for 7 days a week, 6-8 hours a day, every single day. And that band was so freaking tight that we could get together, 20, 30, 40 years later and play, and it would be just as tight. And so since then, we've done a whole bunch of gigs. Like once or twice a year, we'll get together. We played Japan last year. We have a regular gig out in L.A. that we do. There's 3 or 4 really, really cool, rock venues up here in the New England area that we play. So that's kind of, we just, we don't want to really get together and tour as such, but because we all have our own lives going on.
Right.
We've all got stuff going on in our lives that we're doing, and I've got the Hirsh Gardner Project that I'm doing. I really want to spend a lot of time and effort doing that. So, New England gets together every once in a while. We have a great time with it, and the fans love it. So it's a good thing.
Yeah. Once in a while, maybe once a year or once every couple of years.
Yeah.
Now, as far as the Hirsh Gardner Project goes, is that the only thing you're working on, or do you have other projects that you do too?
Well, the Hirsh Gardner Project is my main focus right now, and I'm also still doing a lot of the shows with Joe Filoni. Mm-hmm. We open up for a lot of artists up in this area. Gary Hoey, we played with him about a month ago. John Butcher Axis, we played with them last week at a place called the Natick Center for the Arts, which is a great rock and roll venue. So I've got that going on, and, I'm still just recording and writing and producing a lot of people. So that's kind of, that's how I spend my life, man.
So who else are you working with, like, that you're recording and producing?
I've done a couple of mastering sessions for, different bands. I'm also, one of the main things that we're working on right now is a friend of mine approached me about doing a documentary on me. Okay. And I was like, what? Why do you want to do that? As it turns out, I was telling this kid about a bunch of the bands that we had played with back in the day. Mm-hmm. And he was like so blown away by the fact that, here's this guy, and I try to keep it low key, we don't really, brag about, I played with this guy or that guy. And he was like really blown away that he'd known me for a while and didn't know that this was, part of my musical history. So he's a film guy. He's a writer, and he's got a videographer who does all his camera work. And they said, "Well, listen, would you be interested in having me shoot a documentary about your life? Because it's pretty." Some of the stories that I'm telling were kind of cool, and it sort of grabbed him. I guess the title of it is More Than You'll Ever Know, mm-hmm. which is one of the songs off my first solo album. Yeah. And I guess that's his impression of me. It's like there's more to this guy, Hirsh Gardner, than you'll know. So the More Than You'll Ever Know seemed to be an appropriate title. And, we're going to be putting a lot of effort into, doing this. Right now we're working on the trailer for the documentary, and then we're going to start working on, a regular film.
Like full-length film or like a short?
Yes, yeah, full-length film. It's going to be pretty cool.
Cool. And now
some of the stories that I told him were for instance, one of the stories that was kind of cool was back in I think 81 or something. We played with AC/DC, and the last gig that we played with AC/DC was with Bon Scott, and so the tour ended. And Bon Scott, we all said our goodbyes to the guys in the band, and Bon went back to England, and the rest of the band went back to Australia. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, that was where Bon met his demise. He passed away in England, mm-hmm. and so it's kind of like. Juan, who's the director of this thing, was just like, Hirsh, he said, you played with Bon Scott on his last gig, and then he left and he passed away. It's like, it's not like the most happy story. It's kind of, it's obviously very sad.
Right.
But he said, you've been in a lot of those situations where you've been in this place in time when rock and roll history kind of, spoke to us. And he says, I want to let people know about some of those things. And I thought it was pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, so what is he going to do? He's going to follow you around and you're just going to chat, or are you going to supply him with old videos and then chat about that?
Well, a little bit of everything. Okay. We've got a list of people that we're going to be interviewing, mm-hmm. And yes, they're going to be following me around from gig to gig. We've got, a lot of photos and pictures and things like that, and there's going to be, there's basically just going to tell this story about this rock and roll guy and what his life has been all about, and he's really excited about it. So I'm going along with the ride, man. It's like, okay, cool. Tell me what you want me to do.
I would do it if I were you. I've seen a couple of them done. The last one I think I watched on Netflix was the story of Anvil. Remember the band Anvil?
Yeah,
their documentary came out pretty good.
That documentary is sensational,
yeah.
And I think that Juan and I actually talked about the Anvil thing, and he said, "Listen, I want to try to exude the same type of emotion,
right,
with your career." He said because he reads all the posts online, and I don't pay a lot of attention to this stuff, but a lot of folks have said, New England should have been as big as Journey, and New England should have been as big as Aerosmith, and blah blah blah. It's like. Well, listen, I appreciate that more than you'll ever know. I really appreciate those comments, mm-hmm. But it's I let the other people who can judge New England. I'll let them say that, and I'll just sort of like know inside that we really fought the good fight. We didn't quite make it to that level, but you know what? as far as I'm concerned, I'm still there.
Right.
I'm still doing what I do. I'm not doing this for money. I'm not doing this for fame. I'm not doing this for fortune. I do this because it's who I am.
Because you love it.
And because I love doing it. I love getting up on stage. I love playing drums. I love singing in front of a crowd. It's just, it's that connection where you can give something back to an audience. Mm-hmm. And I think that Juan really wants to portray that. You've got, Richie Blackmore or people like that who are, world famous, and they're doing these documentaries, and he sort of wants to focus, on my career. And although we did not really achieve that level in some people's eyes, he still wants to portray it as that. Right. And I'm honored that he wants to do that, that he sees that story in me. That's great.
Yeah, well, like I said, I mean, when I saw I always knew who Anvil was, but I didn't really know everything about them, And then when you see the documentary, the struggle, going to these clubs and people trying to stiff them out of money and, or not paying them what they agreed to, and just all the everyday stories that they told. I mean, the movie was phenomenal, and I think they could this guy you're working with, he could probably do something like in the same way, follow you around, pick your brain, get all these great stories from you, maybe throw in some old video footage, some pictures and stuff. I mean, you never know, you might have a hit.
Well, I'll leave it to the people who are going to sell this project, but that's going to be that'd be really exciting if it went in that direction. That would be great. If there's a story that they want to tell that's a legitimate, honest, heartfelt, emotional story, then let's just tell the story. And if somebody else out there can relate to it, it's the same as my music. If somebody can listen to one of my songs and they can relate to it, and it makes an emotional connection, then that's fantastic. If something like that happens with this with the documentary, that would be great too.
Yeah, because I think what they do is when they make a movie like that, they enter it like in one of them film festivals, right? And then and
they plan that. They've already talked about all that stuff. They've got all those connections to do that. So
yeah.
So the first step is the trailer that we actually are going to be doing something, I think, tomorrow night. At my studio. I have two studios. I have my home studio, which is where I am now, and then I've got my regular studio in Cambridge, Massachusetts. Mm-hmm. And so we're going to be doing some stuff in the studio tomorrow night just to get this trailer going. So look for the trailer. It's going to be out there pretty soon, and hopefully, it'll be fairly successful, and we'll see what happens with it. So that's kind of what I'm doing. That's what's going on.
And when's the next gig? Where are you playing next?
So the Hirsh Gardner Project is playing on July 20th, which is in a couple weeks, at a venue called Breakaway, and it's in Danvers, Massachusetts. And it's going to be a killer show. It's going to be our second gig, man.
That's awesome. And for people who are going to be listening to this podcast, where can they buy the tickets? On your website? Eventbrite.com
has tickets to the show, and of course tickets are going to be available at the venue. So it's called Breakaway. It's in Danvers, Massachusetts, which is, if anybody knows the area, it's right on Route 1, so you can't miss it. It's a great place. They've got some great dinner menu, and they got like this patio out in the back where they've got some acoustic music going on. So it's really a cool place. And
if they want to pick up a copy of the new album, where will they go for that?
Well, that's www.hirshgardner.com, and we also sell merchandise and CDs and things right at the venue. So that's going to be pretty cool as well.
Now is the first solo album available still on your website too?
Yep. Yes, I believe there are still a few copies of that left. But what we've done is My Brain Needs a Holiday was released in the U.S. and in Europe. The U.S. version is just My Brain Needs a Holiday. The European version, which was a fantastic idea, which is a limited edition dual album that includes Wasteland for Broken Hearts, which is my first album, and My Brain Needs a Holiday, which is the second album.
Wow.
So that will also be available.
That's nice.
Yeah, it's a good package, man. It's pretty cool.
I ordered 2 copies of the new one.
Oh, you did? Now, did you just do that the other night? I saw something come in on my notification.
Yes. Remember I was speaking to you, and then I asked you if you could sign them.
Oh, that's all right. Well, I'm glad you mentioned that because I haven't done that yet. We got to take care of you.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because what I want to do is I'm going to keep one for myself, and then I'm going to give one away to one of the listeners.
Oh, fantastic. Well, you know what I'll do? I'm going to send you 2 copies of the limited edition version. How's that sound?
That sounds awesome, man.
All right, Jimmy. Well, listen, thanks a lot, man. I really appreciate you hooking me up here.
All right. We'll talk to you soon, all right?
Okay, bud. I'll talk to you soon.
All right. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Skip the light fandango, turn cartwheels across the floor. I was feeling kinda seasick. The crowd called out for more. The room was humming harder as the ceiling flew away, and we called out for another drink, and the waiter brought a tray, and so it was that later, as the miller told his tale, that her face at first just ghostly turned to whiter, shade of pale. She said there is no reason, and the truth is plain to see. And I wandered through my play cards, would not let her be. One of 16 Vestal virgins that were leaving for the coast. And although my eyes were open, they might just as well be closed. And so it was, but later, as the miller told his tale, that her face at first just ghostly turned to whiter, shade of face at first just ghostly